Death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. It is not death that a man should fear, but never beginning to live. Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life. What we do now echoes in eternity.
But most people don't live that way. They don't act like this is their last breath. They act like they're immortal. They waste time like they've got a second lifetime in their back pocket. They don't fear death. They fear living without distraction. You talk about your goals, your dreams. But when you think no one's watching, you scroll. You wait, you consume, you avoid. You think you have time. That's the lie. The Stoics didn't fear death because they stared it in the face daily. They knew death wasn't a tragedy. Wasting your life, that's the tragedy. Look around you. Half the people you know are already dead. Not physically, but mentally. Sleepwalking through routine. Working jobs they hate to buy things they don't need to impress people who don't care. That's not life, that's just motion. See, we were taught to chase safety, not significance. Taught to survive, not to serve. But here's the brutal truth. Safety never made a soul immortal. And survival isn't living, it's just postponing the inevitable. What we do now echoes in eternity. But most echoes are empty. Not because people are evil, but because they're afraid to wake up. Because the moment you realize life is short, you have to admit you've been wasting most of it. So let's drop the illusions. You think you need more time. You don't. You think you need better conditions. You don't. You think you need permission. You never did. You just need to decide. This moment, right now, is either the beginning of your life or the continuation of your delay. Death doesn't take the weak or the old or the sick. It takes the unready. And if you keep pretending you have time, you will die as most do, unlived. So here's the question. If this was your last act on earth, would you be proud of it? Or would you wish you had started sooner?
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You can't stop the chaos, the insults, the betrayal, the pain, but you can control how you respond. That's where the power is, not in revenge, not in rage, but in mastery of self. The one who conquers others is strong, but the one who conquers himself is unstoppable. Your mind is your kingdom, so defend it like a fortress. You are not a slave to emotion. You are a weapon, forged by fire, ruled by reason. The world won't change for you, but you can change how you face the world, and that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius.
And yet, most people are completely ruled by what they cannot control. You blame the world. You blame your boss, your parents, your partner, your past. But none of that owns you unless you hand over the keys. People live like leaves in the wind, tossed around by every insult, every rejection, every flicker of discomfort. As if outrage makes you righteous. As if being offended proves you're awake. It doesn't. It proves you're weak. Let's make something clear. Self-control is not suppression. It's not about pretending you don't feel pain. It's about refusing to be owned by it. There will be betrayal. There will be loss. There will be days when the ground beneath you crumbles. The Stoics knew this. That's why they built their fortress in the one place the world can't touch, within. If your mind is undisciplined, everything owns you. A bad driver, a mean comment, a temporary failure. But if your mind is sharp, steady, trained, then nothing owns you. Because you've made a decision. To respond instead of react. to remain still when the world screams for movement, to hold your sword without swinging it wildly. This isn't about passivity. This is about power, because nothing shakes a man more than someone he can't provoke. Nothing terrifies the crowd more than someone who won't dance to their chaos. And yes, this is hard. It's hard because we've been conditioned to believe we have to react. That silence is weakness. That patience is surrender. But it's the opposite. To be ruled by anger is to be ruled by others. To be ruled by fear is to be ruled by the unknown. But to rule your mind, that is real strength. You don't win by conquering the world. You win by conquering the need to. So next time the world pushes, don't flinch. Don't whine. Don't explode. Stand still. Your peace will say more than your rage ever could.
Men chase wealth, titles, and obedience, yet they can't even command their own mind. A man's true power isn't found in status, it's in self-mastery. Don't waste energy on what you can't control. The rain will fall, the wind will blow, people will lie, betray, and leave you. But none of it holds power unless you allow it to. Your mind is your fortress. Guard it, and nothing can break you. Adversity doesn't destroy you. It shows you who you are. Pain, loss, failure. These aren't punishments, they're tests. And your response is the answer. Weak men collapse, strong men adapt, and those who take responsibility become unstoppable. So stand firm, be unshaken. Control your mind, and no one, not fate, not man, can ever rule you. Marcus Aurelius.
We've built our lives on a lie. The lie that control comes from domination. Dominate your schedule, dominate your brand, dominate your income. But domination is fragile because it depends on the world cooperating, and the world doesn't care about your plans. Control isn't about having power over things. It's about having power despite them. Let's get painfully honest. Most of what happens to you will be unfair. You'll be misunderstood, undervalued, betrayed, left behind by people who said they'd stay. You'll be punished for doing the right thing and ignored when you need help most. And when that happens, what will you do? You can scream into the void. You can demand that life makes sense. Oh, you can own your response. Pain isn't a punishment. Loss isn't proof that you failed. They're just mirrors showing you what you truly believe. Adversity reveals your training. When everything goes wrong, do you collapse into bitterness and blame? Or do you adapt? Because the difference between a weak man and a strong one isn't muscles, money, or motivation. It's the answer to this question. Who do you become when the world no longer behaves? The weak man waits for better weather. The strong man builds anyway. The weak man chases approval. The strong man builds principles. And the unstoppable man, he stops trying to control the storm. He becomes the eye of it. He doesn't avoid the chaos. He walks through it untouched. Because his power doesn't come from the world. It comes from discipline, from clarity, from refusal. Refusal to surrender to excuses. Refusal to be ruled by what can't be controlled. So when the wind howls, stand firm. When the rain falls, remain dry inside. When life tears at your armor, smile and rebuild. You are not the victim of circumstance. You are the master of your response. And that's the only power that cannot be taken.
What if I told you that power isn't found in money, status, or noise, but in the silence between your thoughts? Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in the world. Yet his greatest battles were fought within his own mind. He wrote not to the world, but to himself, because the hardest war is the one no one sees. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That wasn't advice. That was command. He taught us, you cannot control the world, but you can control how you respond to it. And that changes everything. Discipline is freedom. Simplicity is strength. And character, that's legacy. The man who masters himself, his emotions, his desires, his fears, becomes untouchable in a world built on chaos. So ask yourself, are you reacting to life? Or are you living with purpose?
We've arrived at the heart of it all. The greatest war is the one within. Not because it's loud, but because it's silent. Because no one sees the battles you fight in your head. And worse, most people never even start fighting them. They fill the silence with noise. Podcasts, opinions, distractions. Anything to avoid being alone with the one person they've never truly met, themselves. But silence exposes truth. And most can't handle that. Because in silence, there's no one left to blame. You start to see how undisciplined your mind really is. How often you betray your own values. How rarely you finish what you start. How you've built a life around chasing comfort while preaching growth. That's the war Marcus Aurelius was fighting. Not for an empire, but for integrity. He didn't write for approval. He wrote to hold himself accountable. To become the man he claimed to be when no one was watching. And that's the final truth. Character isn't who you are when things are easy. It's who you are when everything inside you screams for relief. And you choose the hard path anyway. It's not built through status, or hustle, or loud declarations. It's built in silence, in the small, invisible moments where you choose discipline over impulse, purpose over pleasure, truth over comfort. And make no mistake, this war doesn't end. You do win self-mastery. You live it moment by moment, or you lose it. The mind is a fortress, yes, but it's also a battlefield. And no one can fight your battles for you. So ask yourself honestly, not who do you want to be, but who are you training to become? Every decision is a brick. Every reaction is a message. Every compromise writes your legacy in stone. You are not entitled to peace. You must earn it. Through clarity, through discipline, through war. Because in a world ruled by chaos, noise, and distraction, the man who is calm, the man who is still, the man who is clear, he doesn't just survive, he leads. So now you've heard the words. But hearing isn't enough. Truth doesn't change you unless you let it cut. Because this isn't a motivational speech. This isn't inspiration to pass the time. This is a mirror. And the question is simple. Did you look into it or look away? We live in a world addicted to appearance. Polished identities, curated struggle, public virtue. But real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't ask permission. It's forged alone. In silence. In discipline. In choosing what's right when everything around you screams for what's easy. The Stoics weren't chasing hacks. They were building something timeless. A man who doesn't flinch. A man who does fold. A man who doesn't need the world to be fair, to remain unmoved. And now that man is your responsibility. Not because it's trendy. Not because you'll be rewarded. But because every day you delay becoming him. You are lying to yourself. You already know what needs to be done. You already know what you're avoiding. So stop pretending you're confused. You're not. You're just scared. But courage doesn't wait for fear to leave. It acts anyway. And if you want a life that echoes in eternity, then your next act better be one you'd be proud to die on. So here's the final truth. No one is coming to save you. The only one who can build your mind into a fortress is you. So either start, or step aside for the ones who will.